What's up, guys? This is Corey.
This is Alan.
And welcome to CNA Films and Animation. Well, today we are going to talk about
some of the Oscar-nominated films for Best Picture.
Yes. We did this last year, and we're doing it again this year. Because there are 9 nominations, we're going to do 3 per video. And today we are going to talk about the films Gravity, Dallas Buyers Club, and Captain Phillips. Fair warning, we're going to make this a completely spoiler-filled video.
Spoilers! So if you haven't seen these movies, you might want to either turn off now or skip till later.
Yeah, or if you just don't care, that's fine too. But I mean, these are just going to be kind of discussions about the films that we saw. And, it's more of a, one, to get feedback from us, what we thought of it, and 2, just kind of, share our thoughts of, I guess, what could potentially win, and, just any discussion that pops up. So, let's kick it off. Which of the 3, which one do you want to talk about first?
It doesn't matter.
Alright, we'll just throw up whatever comes up in the air, and
the one that's closest to us.
Captain Phillips it is.
The one we watched last.
Yep.
What the fuck you put in there's Dallas Buyers Club is next. And
Okay.
last is Gravity.
We're going in alphabetical order. This is how we work around here. Very randomly. Okay, so Captain Phillips.
Randomly, but for some reason there's still order there.
Pretty much. Captain Phillips, directed by Paul Greengrass, and starred Tom Hanks and Barkhad Abdi. And yeah, the film basically follows Tom Hanks. He plays Captain Phillips. He is a cargo
Ship captain.
Uh-huh.
He just signed on for this ship. It's going around the Cape of Good Hope, isn't it? Cape Horn's South America.
Yeah, I think so.
Cape of Good Hope. They have to get, but before they can get there, they have to go past Somali waters, where Somali pirates have been known to capture ships and ransom them off for money.
Yes. And just so happens that this is the case of the entire film. A group of Somalian pirates, the leader of which is played by Barkhad Abdi, and they are there, like he said, just to salvage the wreckage, and not wreckage, but take the ship and sell it for a lot of money. And it's especially more money is because it's an American ship.
Yes.
So when they find out it's an American ship, they're like, oh God, we're going to make millions of dollars or something. But yeah, and the film showcases the Somalian pirates taking over the ship and holding Captain Phillips and his crew hostage,
Yes,
to a point.
And it shows Captain Phillips doing everything he can to save his crew and himself. And everything escalates, and the U.S. Navy has to get involved.
Yes. Pretty much at this point, the Somalians get into a lifeboat, yeah. And they take Captain Phillips with them, where they hold him hostage. The U.S. Navy comes in, tries to work a deal with them, and eventually they realize, they have to act out and do something, otherwise, Captain Phillips could die, and you get a huge, potential international incident for sure. But yeah, eventually the U.S. Navy takes action and kills 3 of the Somalian pirates and rescuing Captain Phillips. But yeah, that's kind of the overall gist of the entire film. It's adapted from a book that was based on real events, so it's got that going for it. The acting in this movie I thought was very good from both Tom Hanks and Barkhad Abdi. They really drive the film forward with their realistic acting, especially Tom Hanks. I was very impressed, especially with the ending scene where he is in shock after witnessing the three pirates get assassinated by the Navy SEALs. Was it SEALs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a tough thing to act.
So the film was nominated for 6 Oscars, and they include Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Bakar Abdi, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, and Adapted Screenplay. What were your thoughts on the film?
It was interesting to see inside of what happened, not just see stories like the articles and whatnot. It is, I guess, more towards showing Captain Phillips in the spotlight, but it also shows a little bit of the Somalian pirate's life, which I do think it deserved the supporting actor nomination. Sound editing and sound mixing, sure, not bad. Those are ones. If you quiz me on it, I would fail.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure what sound editing and sound mixing, what exactly entails that and how to look for it. So that's very much a weak point in analysis and stuff. And when it comes to like my Oscar picks, I'm like this and this. I just guess.
Adapted screenplay. Well, it's adapted from a book, which is adapted from real life. So things have probably been slightly skewed one way or other.
And probably even so due to possible biases from maybe the author or even the filmmakers. I mean,
we don't know, and we're not trying to say there are.
Yeah,
we're just saying.
I mean, yeah, I had no clue. Maybe it was completely, just kind of an objective look at what happened. But I have a feeling that there is a lot of subjective stuff in it that could be up in the air as to what actually happened. And I mean, that's really to expect with any based on a true story movie.
Yes.
But yeah, I did like the film. I do think that it was a little hard to get into a little bit. The pacing really picked up, especially after about 15 to 20 minutes into the film. And it does have a nice edge to it, meaning that there's a lot of tension that builds up, especially when the pirates are taking over the ship, and even when the Navy SEALs are starting to take over and trying to resolve this issue. There really is a lot of great tension throughout the film that heightens the experience, and also the acting was really good, and really added just kind of an emotional depth to the characters.
For the film, they have Captain Phillips get kind of acquainted with the youngest member of the pirates, and he, at least in the film, attempts to convince him to get out of that. But it does turn out to be in vain, which is kind of sad to see this kid, pretty much. I don't know, he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Young adult.
16, 17.
Yeah.
Maybe 18, but yeah, I mean, he's just a kid.
It was hard to see him get shot.
Especially since he was kind of the one character that had the most... He's one of the characters that you gain a lot of sympathy for. He doesn't necessarily want to harm anybody.
He wants to, I guess, fit in with the adults in his
culture.
Yeah, he's a young adult. He's trying to make that step forward, and it ends with his life being put out, which is sad. It's a good film to see you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it'll fully win.
No, and
For win for Best Picture, but I think it might have a chance for screenplay or maybe sound mixing,
mm-hmm.
editing. Since I have no idea what that is, good chance.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I'm not entirely sure what will be nominated and stuff. Or
You don't know what will be nominated, then why are we talking?
I don't know exactly what will win. I mean, anything's up in the air, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was a good film, and I'm glad I got to see it, and I do recommend it.
For Captain Phillips, I'd give it a solid 8.
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably give it somewhere around an 8, 4 out of 5 stars, something like that. I did enjoy my time, and there's a lot of great elements to it, and it's one that I was glad I got to see. So let's move on to the next film, which is Dallas Buyers Club. Forgotten the director, name's right here. And
It's right here.
But yeah, Dallas Buyers Club, based on a true story from what I'm guessing.
What is with biopics this year?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. Yeah, there's a lot of both biopics and just kind of period pieces in a way. Not necessarily old-timey period pieces, but I mean movies that are set in a certain decade or certain time period, stuff like that. I mean, for example, like Dallas Buyers Club set in the 80s, Captain Phillips 2009, American Hustle's in the 70s, Hers set in the future, kind of a distant future, 12 Years a Slave set in about the mid 1800s.
Rush is in the 70s or 80s, isn't it?
Rush wasn't nominated.
I know it wasn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I mean, in the grand total.
Yeah, I mean it was. It's the 70s, I think.
I can't remember. Yes, it's not nominated. It did make my top film of last year, though.
Yeah, it did.
If you're wondering why the movies we're reviewing now are not in my list, I had not seen them when we made that list.
We saw these after we made the list. Let's see. Also, Wolf of Wall Street was 80s, early 90s. I mean, there's just a lot of kind of 20 years or more period pieces. Not necessarily old-timey period, but still. So let's get talking to the movie. Dallas Buyers Club follows Matthew McConaughey. He plays a homophobic Texas not necessarily redneck, but kind of a cowboy-esque.
A lot of people would classify him as a redneck, yes. He's an electrician and a part-time bull rider.
Uh-huh.
And he
loves sex.
Loves sex, drugs, and booze.
Yes.
And not necessarily in that order. While at work, an accident happens, and he ends up in the hospital, and he is told he has AIDS.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, specifically HIV, but turns to AIDS later in the film. But there along the way, I'm getting ahead of myself.
He's told he has HIV, and he has 30 days to live.
And, he doesn't believe this because, one, he's not gay, he's, heterosexual, he doesn't want people to believe that he's, homosexual in any way. And so, he basically, if anyone mentions it, he kicks their ass because, well, he's homophobic and he doesn't want anyone to kind of ruin his status.
Yes, and all the people he would call friends. This is when HIV and AIDS are new,
mm-hmm.
and people only calling it only gay people get it, which is not true, but that is what it was thought of at the time.
Yeah,
and they're staying away from him. They don't. don't want to be near him in case I can get it.
Yeah.
And he has to deal with his own comeuppance.
Mm-hmm. All at the same time, there's this new kind of drug trial going on. Do you remember what the name of the drug was?
Not at all.
It's like ZDT or something.
AZT.
AZT?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the specific drug, but this drug company and hospital are running a drug research test.
Yes.
And they're using it on HIV positive people. One of the recipients is a transgendered woman. Is that the correct term, do you think?
Transgendered is right, but man dressing up as woman.
Transsexual.
Transsexual, yeah.
Yeah. Jared Leto plays transgendered, transsexual. I can't think of the actual correct term, and forgive me for my ignorance in that area, but he plays an HIV positive man who dresses as a woman, and basically he goes and is trying everything he can to help him and his friends with their HIV, through trying this new drug test, the AZT, or doing other things.
Yes.
And that's when he meets Matthew McConaughey's character.
Yes. Matthew McConaughey has been paying someone to get him drugs out the back of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not working. It's making him worse.
Yeah. And so Matthew McConaughey travels to Mexico. This is about 30 days or so after it was like 29 days, 28 days. I mean, it was one of the last couple days.
Yeah.
And he travels down to Mexico to try and, get this AZT drug. Well, he comes across this kind of black market doctor.
Yes, he's lost his doctor license, but he's still treating people.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that new drug they're giving out is killing people.
Mm-hmm.
It's too potent. It's destroying their immune system pretty much.
Yeah, which is killing them.
Yeah, which he recommends this other drug.
It's just basically a bunch of vitamins and, there's a few other things in there too, but I mean, a lot of it was vitamins and kind of supplements and stuff to help with the HIV.
Yes.
And turns out it's working.
Yes, they still have HIV, which the AZT was supposed to eradicate it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it does, but it eradicates everything else along with it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, I guess, the super drug. It heals everything, even if you don't want it healed. Like your life. Healed clean to death. And he comes up with it and decides to sell it to people to make a buck because he's a con man.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned that earlier, but yeah, that's what he does. And he's not very good at it.
Yeah.
To the most part.
But yeah, so after he meets Jared Leto's character, he starts to sell these drugs, not necessarily selling the drugs specifically. What he does is he creates memberships. People pay $400 up front, and they are allowed to take all the drugs that they want or need or whatever, and as long as they keep paying. Or is it like a monthly fee?
Yeah, it's a monthly fee.
Yeah, $400 monthly fee, and they can take all the drugs they want. So technically, he's not selling drugs; he's selling memberships.
Yes.
So I mean, it's kind of how the loophole that he found.
Yes. It starts out he just wants to make money.
Yeah.
That's all he cares about. But as he keeps doing it, and as the drug companies try to stop him,
Especially the DEA.
it becomes less about making money and more about trying to allow people with HIV to still live past. Like once they're diagnosed, they have like 30 days, a very short time.
Well, I think his was a special case.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know that.
He was heavy on drugs and alcohol. And,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
well, they have a short time to live.
Yeah.
And he was finding a way to prolong that.
Mm-hmm.
And he changed his ways, and he ended up living for several years.
Yeah, and all of this, is through the partnership of Jared Leto.
Yes.
Jared Leto kind of finds these people and kind of helps spread the word. Going to gay clubs and talking with friends and stuff, and eventually they start a buyers club in Dallas.
You really see the growth of Matthew McConaughey's character from being homophobic to actually seeing Leto as a friend.
Yeah. One of the scenes that really showcase this is a scene in the supermarket where Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto are both
They're shopping for groceries.
Yeah. And they Matthew McConaughey comes across an old friend of his, one of his best friends, who he first kind of told him that he got HIV. And they start talking a little bit, and then Jared Leto shows up, dressed as a woman, and immediately kind of gets defensive in a way. Just does not want to deal with Matthew McConaughey or Jared Leto, and just kind of wants to get out of that situation.
Yeah. Which McConaughey pretty much puts the guy in a headlock and forces him to shake Leto's hand.
Yes. Kind of as a form of, it is for a form of respect for both his business partner and for his new lifestyle. He, at this point in the film, he has come to accept that he has AIDS and is,
He's still not gay, because occasionally he'll get hit on and he'll be like, keep moving.
Yeah.
Keep moving before I break something.
Yeah, he still has kind of that homophobic mentality throughout the film, but he does sympathize with a lot of the characters. Basically they come to a human level for him, and that's really what a lot of the growth of the film is. It's seeing Matthew McConaughey grow as an individual, both from his viewpoints and from his mannerisms, I guess.
The acting was very good in this film. Praised it on all sides. It deserves leading actor and supporting actor. It really does. They immerse themselves in this role, these roles. What else was it nominated for?
The film was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor for Matthew McConaughey, Supporting Actor for Jared Leto, Editing, Best Makeup, and Original Screenplay.
Screenplay, I agree with. Best, as I said, Best Supporting Actor and Best Actor. And, of course, Best Picture. I do not agree with editing for this film.
Okay.
In some places the editing is fine. In some it skips. It seems almost. It says what's going to happen, and then it skips to either already happened or halfway through the process of happening. Which we've seen that before, and that's been fine. It just seemed jarring in several places here.
Okay.
Like there's a scene where he's in Japan trying to get these drugs, and he's told only a Japanese doctor can get them. And it skips directly to a Japanese doctor ordering it.
Yeah. For me, I found that kind of a comedic moment, kind of as a fuck you to the society, I guess.
Which I could agree with if it I don't know if it got talking to or talking to, like a build up to it. Especially with how much Matthew McConaughey was waving around money, bribing people and whatnot. But it's like, okay, I know a guy.
Yeah.
You know, just something like extra. I don't know how much, 10 grand, 100 something. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A friend of mine, he needs the money. Go here. He'll do it. He'll help you. Just something.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm not saying that happened. It's supposed to be true events.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying add something. I'm just saying it was a little jarring.
I understand.
Yeah, another one for good screenplay. I think I like this screenplay more than Captain Phillips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that. As far as screenplay goes, I'm not entirely sure what will win. I'm going to guess that Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto will both win for actor and supporting actor, which would be it'd be like the third or fourth time that this happened, that both actor and supporting actor won for the same film. And it hasn't happened very often, but I think it could potentially do it this year. And I also really like the makeup. Jared Leto had some very convincing makeup throughout the film. You know, he looked like a convincing woman. But yeah, I really like Dallas Buyers Club. It's one of my favorite movies of last year, and it's one that I'm really glad got nominated, because it was one of those wild cards where it's like, okay, I'm not sure if the Academy will go for it based off of the themes and, you know, stuff that happens throughout the film, especially with today's society. I mean, I do think that society is becoming a little bit more open to homosexuality, but it's still got a lot of conservative viewpoints on it. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that's kind of, I'm glad that it was nominated because it definitely deserves it, but I'm also a little surprised that it was for the viewpoints of a lot of society. So, I mean, yeah. What would you give this out of 10?
I would have to give this one, I think a 9.5.
Okay.
Very good. Good acting. Interesting story. Interesting period.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with you. That was actually what I was going to rate it myself. I really like this movie. It made my top 10 of last year, so...
It probably would have made mine if I'd seen it before.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Now move on to the last movie of tonight. We're going to talk about Gravity. Directed by Alfonso Cuarón and starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. This film was basically about a couple of astronauts and a what would you call Sandra Bullock's character?
She's a scientist.
Yeah, a scientist.
She works in a hospital too. She's a specialty doctor, I just don't remember what type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a doctor and a scientist as well. And they're up there in space working on a space station.
It's a
Telescope.
Yeah, they're putting in a experimental device, and Russia decides to bring down their own satellite. There we go, satellite, and it doesn't come down like it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And it releases a shrapnel field that starts to circle the Earth.
Yeah. And basically the shrapnel is going at a speed that is faster than a speeding bullet. And it's heading right toward the American telescope that they are repairing. Well, basically, shrapnel comes, hits them hard, and completely destroys everything in its path. Mm-hmm. And it knocks Sandra Bullock away from everything, and she is flying into space with nothing to really guide her. You know, she just keeps flipping back and forth. Not back and forth, but just keeps flipping.
Oh, around and around and around.
Yeah, just jutting off into space.
And George Clooney is able to get to her,
Mm-hmm.
and they try to make their way back to a neighboring space station so they can get get to its escape pod and make it to another space station that has a way to get home.
Yeah. Which, basically when they get to the second space station, George Clooney is basically dragging Sandra Bullock down and tells her to release him because otherwise they both die. And he floats off into space and goes to his demise. And Sandra Bullock, she gets into the space station and is just trying to get to this Chinese space station. Yeah.
Yes.
Chinese station that's like 100 miles away, something like that. I mean, it's not too far away. You can see it at a distance, but it's far enough away that it's like, you would die before you get there.
Yeah.
And it turns out that this station is out of fuel. Of course, everything goes wrong. Murphy's Law. But,
And it's on fire.
Yeah. She's able to detach from the station itself and is kind of heading toward the Chinese station, and eventually, things go wrong. Things out of fuel, and she decides, she's going to kill herself off, because she, basically doesn't have anything to live for anymore. She's the last remaining survivor of this space station. There's potentially no way to get home. Mm-hmm. Her daughter died before she even went up.
Yes.
Just all sorts of tragic stuff.
Yeah. And she hallucinates seeing George Clooney come back, and he tells her pretty much not to give up and what she can do to possibly save herself.
Mm-hmm. And which, she decides, I do have a little bit of life to live for, so she turns back on the air that she turned off earlier, and is doing everything that she dreamed about, and heads home. Which gravity takes over, and shrapnel's coming everywhere, potentially trying to destroy everything and kill her, and eventually she makes it home. That's the movie in kind of a nutshell.
Yeah.
First off, I've got to say that the visuals of this movie, the cinematography and the visual effects, are top notch.
Yes, some amazing camera views, and really unique, really taking the aspect of zero gravity and everything you can do with it.
Mm-hmm. This film really does have a great atmosphere to it. You do feel like you are... no pun intended, but I did feel like I was in space. I was there with her, going through these events. It did help that I did see the movie in IMAX 3D, but still, I will say that this movie is really for the experience, not necessarily for the plot or the acting or anything else. Not to say that the acting's bad. It's just, it's one of those movies that it's more about the overall experience and the effects.
Yeah. Sandra Bullock did a good... Her acting was really good. Mm-hmm. They tried to make this film as scientifically accurate as possible. Mm-hmm. They didn't miss it a couple spots that I've heard on the internet.
Well, everything on the internet's true.
I know, right? So, news outlet like when you see her taking off the space outfit, supposedly when they're up there, because of the zero gravity and whatnot, they wear adult diapers. Mm-hmm. From what I heard, she is clearly not. Mm-hmm. But that's a nitpick. A small nitpick at a broader scale,
Yeah.
They did try. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's true or not, but from the movie, those spacesuits could take a pretty good beating. Except by, of course, the shrapnel going faster than a bullet.
Yeah.
That's beside the point.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you've got shrapnel coming at you that's faster than a bullet, I don't think a suit's really going to save you.
Well, I know, but they were thumping into the space station and bouncing, twirling.
Well, in zero gravity, I mean, you're going to do that anyway.
Well, you are, I know. I'm just saying they're bouncing and thumping off of those metal, either the space station, the telescope, the ship, all of that. But still, cinematography very good. What else did it get nominated for?
The film was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress for Sandra Bullock,
Okay.
Cinematography, Best Director for Alfonso Cuarón, Editing, Original Score, Production Design, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, and Visual Effects.
Yeah, visual effects, the cinematography, yes, this one really deserves. And the editing of the sound mixtures, all really come together for it.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting a little bit more for the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, some more breathtaking shots of the earth, maybe just...
Okay.
They did have some, don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the point of the film, but... I don't know.
There's a couple of scenes in the movie that really stood out to me. First scene that I'm going to mention is the scene where the camera is focusing on something, Sandra Bullock, or I think it's George Clooney pulling Sandra Bullock, or maybe it's a little bit later than that, I don't know, somewhere in the film. The film leaves focus of Sandra Bullock's character and moves towards the earth and showcases the what's the lights, the northern lights, what's that called?
The Aurora Borealis?
Yeah, the Aurora Borealis. Such a beautiful scene right there. Just seeing the colors and everything mixed with the earth. I mean, that really stood out to me. Another one that I thought was very interesting. The scene where Sandra Bullock is taking off her suit in the space station. She's taking it off and she starts to curl up and she goes into a fetal position. And, the suit's cords, kind of wraps around and it kind of looks like she is a fetus, basically. She's wrapped up in a ball. There are cords around her. I mean, it's it's a beautifully shot scene that I thought was a very interesting choice for the film. Makes me think that there is some possibly hidden meanings behind the film. I can't really tell what that might be. I'm just not that good of an abstract thinker, but I mean, I just think that was a very unique and very well done scene, kind of showcasing her. But yeah, I thought it was a very interesting scene. And then also the last shot of the film really got to me. She lands on Earth and is kind of crawling back onto the land, and I mean she's on this island. It's very vast, open. There's some vegetation a little bit, and it's just a very beautifully shot scene.
Yes.
A lot of this film, I wonder how they made it. Just through the visuals and the camera work, how it kind of, it moves around and, does all this stuff. I really wonder how they made this film.
So, what would you give it out of 10?
Oh, honestly, I'd probably give this an 8.5. I know that I gave Dallas Buyers Club a higher rating, and yet Gravity is higher on my favorites list. There are reasons for it. I do really like this movie, and part of it is because of the overall experience with the film. The movie as a whole is good, very visually beautiful and everything, but it is definitely heightened with 3D IMAX quality.
Yeah, I bet I just watched this in 2D. It was okay. I didn't get the same experience he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'll give it an 8.6. It is a visually nice movie to look at. Cinematography is good. the acting by Sandra Bullock and the character we're given is both touching, strong, very good character. It's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 8.6.
Okay. Well, that's this wraps up our first video of the Best Picture nominated reviews, I guess, for lack of a better term. The next video we're going to talk about The Wolf of Wall Street, 12 Years a Slave, and Her. So be sure to come back for part 2, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you guys later.